channel. Welcome back to Kicking Dust. This is dropship time. We're kind of cycling through all the things to do. So we did tanks last time, not very successfully, to be honest. And this is everybody getting in a dropship. I'm not gonna lie to you, it doesn't go well. Don't expect a good round this time. This is probably one of the examples where, for once, we're doing the redlining, which was an enjoyable difference, and we thought it would be interesting to see how annoying that could be. So again, don't expect hijinks, just expect interesting kind of skirmish terrorism style fights as I headbutt Stephanie Almighty's dropship. So let's talk quickly about vehicles. I honestly think vehicles are going to be the one thing in EVE 2.0, or EVE Revenant, calling it now, that will actually be of interest to a lot of people, because let's face it, you play EVE not to be that kind of weird gangly man walking around the quarters. You play, or woman, you play EVE to basically be the spaceship flying around in space, and I honestly think that that is something in terms of telepresence is the difference between Dust and EVE. I've got to admit that the vehicles in Dust are excellent, and this is from a lot of, I guess, playing different games and seeing how vehicles work. So, for example, I always thought that games like Titanfall really understood that, because they made the vehicle almost an extension of the player. You know, it really did feel flipping good. And I think vehicles in Dust, they feel very slow, wallowy and heavy, which is obviously a nice thing, because I don't know if you play Battlefield 4 or anything like that, the vehicles in that feel like they're kind of made of crepe paper. A crate paper? I don't know. You know what I mean? That weird paper you used to use as a kid with that weird white glue that the special kid in the class would go and eat. I always remember that kind of the very light feeling. And I remember when I first started playing Battlefield 4, you know, it didn't really feel like you were using anything really. Whereas this feels heavy and solid. So solid, in fact, that basically I'm about to do something very silly and fly it right into the MCC. So there we go. Good times. The amount of times I reversed afterburned into the MCC, it was almost like an old friend greeting me back into the game. So I think that was a pretty embarrassing but fun thing to do. Anyway, so I think it's an interesting kind of difference between a lot of games and Dust. I think Dust did it very well. Post in the comments, as I always say. I think I'll be interested to know what people think, because I honestly do think vehicles in this game really did work. They were very limited, so the red line meant that they were incredibly limited in terms of what they could do. Dropships never needed to be dropships, because you didn't really need to fly in them to get anywhere. Do you know what I mean? That was a big own goal in my mind. I think that should have been almost number one. The whole purpose of the dropship should have been carrying troops about. But to do that, you need bigger maps. So, in H1Z1, for example, you have vehicles that enable you to get around, and once you have a vehicle, the whole game does change completely. And I honestly think that should be the same in Dust 2.0, Revenant calling it now, because that should be one of the kind of key differentiators, is that if you've got a vehicle, you're infinitely better prepared to fight and do stuff. So I really do hope that is, vehicles generally become a real kind of cornerstone of Dust 2.0, Revenant calling it now, because I do think that there is a real kind of nice feel to the purpose of vehicles in this game. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it has to be in a way, because EVE is obviously all about vehicles, as I've said, and your ability to use them. But I just do suspect, quite openly and honestly, that there will be this interesting kind of transition from what they do today. So, for example, an LAV, completely useless. It used to be useful. I remember way back when in the day, you would use an LAV to get to the skirmish points, and you could kind of go around and hack them. So I imagine they still do have purpose. I'm not saying they don't right now, but I think their purpose has been vastly reduced. So if you remember the Scout LAV, what the hell was that supposed to be about? I mean, that didn't make any sense whatsoever. The whole Scout LAV, and it was just completely pointless. Do you remember the Logistics LAV? What were they thinking with that? Basically, it was an unkillable murder taxi, and I love the fact that it did become a murder taxi, but I also love the fact that it was basically in the colours of SquadB. It was basically yellow and black, so it looked like a very angry bumblebee was about to run you down and then stop, reverse over you a bit, then wheel spin on your face, and I always thought that was really nice. I did enjoy that. So there we go. I don't know. Interesting times ahead. I just to give a bit of more commitment because somebody did ask me this. We are sticking about. We're not going anywhere. We, for some reason or another, have decided that this is the game that we play. Even though financially and subscribers and view-wise, we would be better off playing something like a very obscure version of Minecraft mod. You know, because they probably get more views, subs, and watches, and certainly revenue. I think we have made that kind of sacrifice. I'm not looking for violins here, don't worry, but we have decided that Dust is it's fun. We enjoy it, and I've got to admit to you, you certainly never come into YouTube thinking you're going to make any money from it because you don't. And I think the important thing is to remember that it's here to have fun. It's a hobby. And I think a lot of people forget that. So I would just stress our commitment is to the game, and it's to whatever Dust becomes, we will be here. So, for your news and for your interest and for your excitement, we will continue on with whatever Dust becomes. Even if that means we have a long break in between, there's plenty of games to play coming up, and we certainly will be playing them. And we're not camping the spawn pad. Honest, we're not. No, it looks like it is, but we're not. Stop that. We're not camping it. Honestly, we're just sort of making sure it's working. And there we go. Oh god, shotgunner! I did actually scream at gang chat. Oh my god, a shotgunner! Anyway, I honestly do think that there is going to be an interesting period in this game when it does switch off, and then when the new thing comes in alpha. If that's going to be a bit of time, then that's obviously not a good thing, because you are going to lose some kind of focus. A lot of people will go off and play other things. It's already happened, let's be honest, but for us, we enjoyed this game. We got a kick out of it. I've played E for 7, 8 years, or however long it's been. I've played this game for 3 now. I seem to be kind of ensconced in the CCP product group as much as anyone could be, and I like it. I think there's potential here. I think it is still a very interesting, kind of exciting game. I think funny because I was thinking about this kind of metaphysically, in terms of what does dust mean to me? So you sort of close your eyes and you think to yourself, what's the first feeling I get when I think about this game? Is it a positive feeling? Is it something that I'm proud of? Is it something that I've enjoyed? And just the simple fact that I've done so many videos for it, the simple fact that we seem to have kind of had its place, let's say, in the CCP mindset, because obviously we were asked to do that video for FanFest. We were really honoured to do that. I know a lot of people think I'm just this massive dick. And I don't mean that in a complimentary way. I mean, everybody, there is a kind of feeling that I am a complete tool. And I don't know where that comes from. I think it's just because that is the nature of first-person shooters, is that, Team A versus Team B, and therefore you hate the other person, and so on. I've never quite understood it myself. I get ragey at people, and I don't like certain people at times, but it's a game. It's not real. I don't actually sit there and wish ill upon people, and I've never understood why that seemed to be such a thing. It's a kind of thing of context. And when you look at it, it's a game. There's no point getting upset and angry for anything more than a fleeting moment of time about a game, really, is there? Do you know what I mean? Post in the comments. I've got to admit, there's been times when I've said, oh, that guy's cheating, he's got to be, what a bust, oh, fuck him, and I hated the person. But it's just a competitive alpha male, animal response. I love everyone. And this is getting a bit weird now. You're getting a bit creeped out. I don't know, where's he going with this? He loves everyone. Yeah, I love everyone. I love all my Dust players. I think you are my brothers, my sisters, mostly brothers. And I do think that it's been a hell of a journey. So without risk of getting gushy, I do want you to understand that, I don't understand any of the hate in this game at all. I think it's been just wonderful. And this game is cool, and I do hope that it becomes, just even better and moves on to bigger, brighter things. So there we go. There is always going to be that kind of, ambiguity behind it. CCP probably have a bit of a task on their hand to actually get the backing for this game to continue. Let's be honest, because it didn't kind of hit the numbers that they were maybe looking at. But in terms of technical ability and maybe the kind of community it's created, they've done a great job. I have to honestly say that. I think they've done a pretty good job getting a good, strong small as it may be, but strong community of people who do still worship this game. And I think things like PC and that kind of progressive skill point system have done really clever things to keep people playing. So there we go. Interesting times ahead, I think you'll agree. I don't really know where it's going to go, but we're in it for the long run and we're going to enjoy the ride. And again, I would probably just love to offer that olive branch to anybody that thinks I'm a massive tool to come play with me, to then find out how much of a massive tool I am. I promise I'm not. And I've never quite understood. I think it's funny because certain things like my attacks at the CPM probably didn't help. A lot of that was taking the piss. I mean, I'm just a bit disappointed. A lot of people thought I was being quite serious with some of that. The thing about Minchip was very serious because I think she didn't do any good for the game at all. And that I stand by my comments. And my points on that premise are well documented. But I think generally the community of this game, it's like, it's funny because a lot of people, for example, in EVE, don't like Goonswarm. So obviously when I was part of Goonswarm, they revelled in that. But what they didn't realise is that Goonswarm very likely saved EVE, because EVE at that point was a very boring, stagnant game, and this community comes into it that makes the game actually quite interesting again. So much so that it changes the collective cultures of almost every alliance, and probably every single alliance that changed and adopted the much more kind of Goonswarm. This is a game, let's have some fun and play it. Serious business, it's that whole concept of, anybody who thinks games are serious business are generally quite annoying. I think games are there to have fun. You can take them as seriously as you like, so if you're a competitive eSports player, then good on you, because that's probably how you make a few quid. But at the end of the day, you're playing a game. It's never going to be anything more than a game. I know a lot of you are now kind of angrily mashing the keyboard saying eSports and LOL and Dota and all this. I get you. I totally hear you. And I think that I'm not saying that they're in any way diminished gaming, sporting things, but I'd probably just reference that they're not sports. Let's be clear on that point. They're not sports. They are hobbies and activities and pastimes that have a competitive nature to them. Do you know what I mean? I think it's an interesting kind of argument to say that esports is actually esports. It's not. For me, I think trying to pick away and make it a sport is the wrong way to go. They should be calling it competitive gaming entertainment. And that way, because a lot of people will be put off by the fact that they're trying to call it a sport. And I know they're doing that for they're obviously doing that for tax reasons, or they're doing that for tax reasons. Oh, look at this. I just documented this rather beautiful, trash bag flying in the wind kind of art. Look at that guy just rolling down. So I think a lot of people try and make out that it's kind of like a sport because that gives it credence or something. But you look at it, gaming is now as much of an entertainment form as film. It's already matured. In the time that they've tried this esports nonsense, gaming has now become a perfectly acceptable pastime. And quite frankly, it's actually more profitable than films now in terms of what they can return to an investor. So, for me, I think there's no need to carry on with this sports nonsense. I think, if anything, you should just treat it as a competitive entertainment. And I think that, that is a pretty nice way to put it. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't give a monkeys, really. I don't. I think gaming at the end of the day is gaming. And I do honestly think that there is a huge amount of potential with what they could turn this game into under EVE. And just from the kind of the storyline alone, but all the way through to the ability to do that kind of PC, competitive EVE-based stuff, all the way through to the bit that I would be most interested in, which is boarding ships and doing that kind of thing. And I'm still desperate for CCP to link Dust with EVE and have that ship boarding capability. So you could dock your ship onto another ship, or you could clamp to it. You both enter a reinforced state, so you can't be completely destroyed, but you can be disabled by other fleets in orbit still. But in that time, what you're doing is effectively there's a dust battle fighting on the ship. Imagine how much fun that would be, fighting close corridor, room to room. Lodgies and heavies and shotguns and remote explosives and fighting and plasmas and mass drivers. Oh my god, that'd be so much fun if they could do that. And you've got 15 minutes to win the ship. If you don't, the whole team loses and you're all dead. That kind of thing. Or a nice thought would be that the game basically then just completely throws you into a situation where, you know, the ship decouples, but there's still Marines fighting on your ship, able to activate systems. So you could then fight to keep the warp drive offline so the ship can't escape. Imagine that. Anyway, there we go. Huge amounts of fun to be had. Come play, dude. Come play. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.